Well, Gerrard slipped and get the bars in here. Rodriguez again. It's a stunning volley.
Listeners, welcome back. It's preview show 3. Today we look at Liverpool, Manchester City, Manchester United and Middlesbrough, and I'm not alone for the ForTheFans podcast this week. Jack and Keno are here. Jack, hi there.
Hello, Liverpool today.
You're never alone, Ben. You're never alone.
Yeah, we'll never walk alone. Yes, Keno, how are you?
Was that intended or unintended?
I'm so talented. Happy accident. Yes, Jack. One of Jack's nicknames. Keno, hello, hi. How are things?
Hello, good.
Are you looking forward to the biased podcast today?
Well, I am here to make sure it isn't a biased podcast.
Yeah, I don't think we are actually. Just saying now, I don't necessarily think we are that biased, but you know.
I think similar to the England thing. I think there's no problem in us talking about clubs that are close to us.
Yeah, you very rarely mention Villa though.
No, I mean for this series of podcast, boys, it's been you bringing it up, not me.
I mean, we're talking about Champions League, and Keane goes, "Well, I'm a Villa fan, but Chelsea."
Yeah. Right then,
Chelsea aren't in the Champions League.
We'll start with title contenders Liverpool. No, I'm joking. We'll start with Liverpool Football Club with their new stand, which is almost ready as well. The main stand? The new main stand's looking magnificent. Yeah, new tier, extra 15,000 seats, or whatever it is, 8,000 seats, because it's going to look beautiful. You excited, Keno? You can go there on your away trip when you're at... Oh, no, never mind, sorry. Apologies. So, yes, Liverpool...
FA Cup.
The FA Cup, League Cup semi-final. Yes, then Liverpool, we'll start with them. I'll just kick things off and say that I'm quite pleased with what Klopp does. I'm fine with what Klopp does. I feel a bit like that. That's how I feel as a Liverpool fan. Whatever Klopp wants, Klopp should get, and as long as he's happy, then I'm happy. That's just the way it is. My trust in Jurgen Klopp is at a maximum high right now, Jack. Are you the same?
I want to be, but I have concerns over the fees that we've paid. Not necessarily because I don't think the players will perform, but for example, I look at Wijnaldum. He just echoes and reminds me of so many other transfers we've made over the years for in excess of £20 million.
Okay.
And
like
to be fair, perhaps I just think we've signed a lot of players who fulfil that position. You look at the likes of Firmino, you look at other players who we've signed for in excess of £20 million who simply haven't performed. Benteke, great example already. I guess the cushioning blow there is the fact I do have some kind of trust in Klopp, and as you said, I feel like off the back of our kind of first season with him, not even first full season, he's earned my trust. But also, some of the transfers we've done on the outs, I feel like Liverpool have fetched some really, really decent money. You look at the likes of Ibe going for 15 million. Yeah. I think Joe Allen, 1 year left on his contract. The club's done exceptionally well to get £13 million for him.
Very well, yeah.
I think looking at players like Skirtle going out, even if it's only for a few million, I'm pretty happy about that as a transfer.
Pretty happy? I literally had a party. I'm so pleased he's gone. I
can imagine that. And also, Brad Smith's gone to Bournemouth. I don't know how much he's gone for, but I believe there's a buyback clause in that. So that's again
about 6. Yeah, I think in terms of ins, it's like a 7 out of 10 probably. No major names. Mane cost a lot of money, but again, if he's the kind of player Klopp wants, great. Wijnaldum, feel exactly the same way. Cleverland could be decent. You never know. Keane probably won't even know who that is, to be honest.
He's another left-footed centre back.
Yeah, left-footed centre back. We didn't have another one though. We only had Sacco, so to bring another one in is nice. Now we've got Lovren and Matip for the other side.
Isn't Lovren left-footed?
No, he's not right. I mean, you might want to cut that out.
I'm going to check.
Lloris, he's not. Lloris Karius, he plays on the left side, but he's not left-footed. Lloris Karius, a very attractive goalkeeper. We've seen him, Keno. He's very handsome.
I haven't, no.
I
will endeavour to.
Well, hang on a minute. No, let's just. I think we should get a live reaction to Karius, because he's a bit of a heartthrob of the Liverpool fan base right now. They're enjoying the look of him very much. I mean, this is his picture here. If I just pop it in, I'll pop it in our chat, Keno. I've actually put it in the general chat, but if you just want to look at that, take that in, enjoy.
Oh, wow.
Yes, thank you very much. That's Karius there.
He looks like a slightly more handsome PewDiePie.
Yeah, fair, very fair. So that's Karius. He's just been brought in as our number 1/2. I think he was probably brought in as number 2, just waiting for Mignolet to cock up. And as you said, Jack, on the outs for Liverpool, I think it's the best season we've ever had for outs. The amount I've never seen us ship so much dead wood in one window. It's unbelievable. Just to go through the names then. Teixeira gone, Sinclair gone, Kolo Touré gone. Feel a bit indifferent about that one.
I was a bit annoyed actually with Kolo because I think he brings something behind the scenes.
Yeah, a little bit sad about that one. We've not got too many senior players, and he was up there. Rossiter to Rangers, kind of sad, but he's at the stage now where he needs a move if he's not going to play. But he was like the next Gerrard, was talked about for a long time. Jose Enrique, thank God for that. Yesil, never really happened. Canos has gone to Norwich. Sergio Canos, he's another one with a buyback clause, with the same as Ibe and Brad Smith, who have both gone to Bournemouth. We spoke about it in the Bournemouth preview show. 15 million for Jordan Ibe with a buyback. So I don't actually think he's particularly great. I think he's okay. But if he does do things well, the fact we're the first sort of team to be able to go back in there is wonderful. Adam Bogdan's gone out on loan, Martin Skrtel's left, and Joe Allen, in a bit of a sad story really. That's the Brendan Rodgers era over for me.
I feel like for Joe Allen, actually, Joe Allen's issue was that he wasn't good enough for the first team, but he's too good to be sat on the bench for Liverpool, and with what he had left on his contract, £30 million, great deal by the club, as I already said.
He just doesn't quite fit. He's not quite dynamic enough for a Jurgen Klopp team. He's close, but he's not quite there, and it's a bit square peg round hole. So overall, I'm quite pleased. From the outside then, Kino, how do you see Liverpool's transfer dealings? Bit too much money spent, or not enough?
I agree. I think the point you made about Wijnaldum was very good. It strikes me of a sort of a bit of a Dalglish era type thing. I think you worry you paid a bit much for him. However, he did have a decent season with Newcastle, so he's shown that he can cut it in the Premier League. I mean, it's difficult for me to kind of say, because obviously you have a much better kind of read on the squad and what it needs. But would you say the Wijnaldum sort of inside forward, maybe central midfield 3 was an area that you needed to strengthen Liverpool?
Yes, probably. We brought Grujic in as well, who's like a 6'3", 6'4" Serbian, who will play a similar role. He's played quite a lot in pre-season. We've actually had a few youngsters come through pre-season. I don't know if any of them will feature. It's the thing that we're kind of replacing midfielders that we've had that produced a role. And as I kind of made the point with Alan, is that Klopp doesn't really have players to fulfil roles. He kind of has lots of players fulfilling the same roles, and his front 6 kind of operates so they can play in any of those 6 positions.
Yeah, and I feel that the Wijnaldum deal is maybe
he's a
not
perfect
so
example
much
of that, though. He can play in every of those sort of 6 positions.
Yeah, and it's not so much a kind of a massive step forward in terms of quality, but he's Klopp's man, and that a certain amount has to be said for that, really, as well.
Actually, on that, Klopp wrote about Wijnaldum in his book. Like, it's kind of interesting. Klopp sort of had been looking at Wijnaldum for years and years and years, and I've always thought of him as like maybe getting him at Dortmund, and obviously then he went to Newcastle, and then obviously Klopp had moved anyway, and then sort of left Dortmund, and it always sort of trailed the career of Wijnaldum. It wasn't like a long monologue, but it seemed to me that he's a player obviously you'd looked at for a long time.
The way you phrase it there is Klopp is like, that young girl in high school who has to hop from. Kind of watches him go between other girlfriends, just sits there, writes it in her diary. Dear diary, he's gone with another one now.
I think transfer-wise, I'm pretty pleased. I do wish we had a star signed. I don't feel like we've signed a star, and it's the same. I mean, we'll get on to predictions in a minute. I think we're a star short. We're a central midfield star short of being like quite a good football team.
My concern with saying kind of we're short of a star is the fact we forked out nearly £50 million onto, well, obviously Mane kind of plays out wider up front and Wijnaldum, and I feel like in some ways
I don't mind that though, current climate and everything.
I'd rather we buy one star with that kind of money than perhaps 2 players who I look at and I think they fit into the starting 11, but I don't know if either of them is going to be a
take
player,
it to the next level.
Exactly. I feel like we already have players as good as them in their positions, and hopefully I'm completely wrong. But
that's the point there. Actually, I will counter that because for a bit of transparency, me and Jack are both Liverpool fans, but I disagree in that we've got players that do that already. I don't think we do. Who do you think is similar to Mane? Like, I don't think we've got anybody like Mane in the squad, and in the same way that I don't think we have anyone as maybe got like a goal scoring midfielder or a creative spark like Wijnaldum who can play slightly deeper but have a more intelligent brain further up the field. And he's certainly he's basically the more athletic version of Joe Allen in many respects.
I feel like more so for position. So I feel like for Wijnaldum, I actually think Wijnaldum will end up playing deeper for Liverpool as more of a centre mid than anywhere, in the playmaker role. But I just think for Wijnaldum, you look at players who've got like Coutinho, I think he's got a better range of passing. I look at players like Firmino, who I think can offer more going forward.
But they won't get up and down as much as someone like Wijnaldum. I think that's the way he's been brought in.
I just feel like I feel like if you're bringing in a player who's a jack of all trades, master of none, then that's a lot of money to be spending on that kind of players. I think on the flip side with Mane, I'll agree, he does offer something, particularly if he plays out wide, but he's already shown his kind of class down the middle for Southampton.
Yeah.
My worry there is...
But he's not going to play down the middle. He's not going to play down the middle. There's no way. Sturridge, Origi, Ings, he's not getting in down the middle.
I hope he plays out wide then, but I think in pre-season he played quite a bit down the middle, so we'll see.
But I will say that's kind of true, but that was like he's played Ings there most of pre-season, and then he's played Sturridge. I bought bloody LFC Go, so I've been watching it. Yeah, that was a mistake. It was not literally on it. Every game's on at 4 a.m. Not really worth it. I should say as well, me and Jack have, as this comes out, we've seen Liverpool play, Jack.
Yeah, so I've completely
4-0.
changed
What a win! What a win!
Barcelona.
Messi was awful. Great win by Liverpool though. That Wijnaldum hat trick really made you look a mug, didn't it? No, yeah, I don't know if he's going to play. Keno, where do you think Liverpool finish next year? I want your unbiased look on this.
It's incredibly difficult to say. Because on the one hand, you've got a fantastic manager who has experience in taking a team to the top sort of 4, 3, 2, 1, in the upper reach of the league. But I feel that Liverpool will suffer this season from just being one of the many teams that could do that. And that's why it's so difficult, because they could be anywhere really in that sort of 7th to 4th position. It could be one of maybe 5 teams. I feel that one thing you do have to your advantage, maybe in even comparison to someone like City or Chelsea, is that Klopp has had that sort of 8 months to bed in. I think that will make quite a big difference in how quickly Liverpool hit the ground running this season, and that can maybe play in their advantage. Yeah. So I think I'll maybe go sort of 6th. I think he's good enough to be up there, but maybe not quite good enough to the top 4. I think it would be fair.
Jack?
Top 4 would be an absolutely fantastic season as far as I'm concerned. I think it's tough for me because I don't like getting into the Europa League through league position, because I feel like it adds a distraction to the following year when I'd rather we focus on getting top 4.
It's worth noting that we're not in Europe.
Oh, of course,
we mentioned that with Chelsea.
Which is, I think, why I'm perhaps a little bit more leaning towards saying top 4 is what we should be expecting. Realistically, I think top 6 I'd be fairly happy with. I feel like as long as we show a degree of progress now under Klopp, and I can see kind of where we're going forward, it's great. Obviously last year was somewhat marred, I guess, by the fact we lost the UEFA Cup final and of course the League Cup final. And so it kind of made, I think last season, if we win either of those, you look back at last season and go, yeah, that was a good season. Whereas really last season I kind of feel like as a fan looking in, I feel like in some of our league games we were a little bit iffy, if I'm honest, and I felt like there was a few games which we just kind of capitulated in. And I'm interested to see if this year we can kind of get rid of those games. That's kind of what, as long as I see progress, and I feel like the club is moving forward, I'm happy. But it feels like for a number of years now, really, since that 2nd place finish, the club's not really been going anywhere. And I'm hoping that Klopp can show more of that this year. And I think top 6 and any kind of silverware, really, I'd be fairly happy with as a season.
Yeah, I think we should certainly take the cup competition seriously. That's not something I necessarily think we've done that much, despite getting to a few finals in the last few years. Obviously, last year we had 2 finals, so anything like that again would be quite good. I agree with you. I think top 4. Well, I personally think top 4 is unachievable. I think there's 4 teams that are better, comfortably better than us. I think European football will hit Tottenham quite hard, and they will struggle a little bit just with squad depth, just playing a different way. Like, because you have to play a different way when you have to manage both the Premier League and Europe. Last year they had, I know they were in the Europa League, but they played very rotated sides in both. And when you're in the Champions League, you can't really afford to do that because you're almost forced to take it more seriously, aren't you? It's like it's the Premier competition. So I think we'll come on to Tottenham obviously in a future preview show, but I think Liverpool will be about 5th, 6th. It could kind of go either way. Like if Tottenham get knocked out of the Champions League in the group stages, which I guess could happen, their seeding will be a bit tough for them. then it'll depend on that. If Tottenham get through their group, I think Liverpool will probably finish 5th. But if not, I think Liverpool 5th, 6th. Yeah, about there. Yeah. So when you tell me at the end of the season that I thought Liverpool were going to win the league, we never said that, Jack. Do you hate that when everyone says that about us?
But Liverpool fans always say it's their year next year.
Yeah, but we don't really say that though. I don't feel like.
No.
I feel like 2 weeks into every Premier League season, it's like, well, at least it'll be the year after. You know, look forward to that.
I feel like my fantasy football team every year starts out with 3 Liverpool teams. 3 weeks in, they've all gone. Hopes have been diminished.
Yeah, Mignolet will be starting again, so that's good news. Pleased?
Delighted. Should we move on that note?
Yes, we will do. We'll go to Manchester City, and Pep Guardiola is now at the helm of Manchester City, and signings have been made. Callum, he's been very, very busy, and he's done a little bit of business already. Again, the most shocking thing for me is that Yaya Touré's still at Manchester City.
I know.
I can't believe it. Oh, sorry, quickly, Kino. Where do you think Liverpool? Oh, you said, didn't you? My apologies.
I did say, yeah.
Yeah. Do you want to change it though? Maybe top 4 now. Maybe you've thought about it.
Winners.
Winners.
6th.
Cheers.
I said it before.
We basically said the same thing. Right then, City have brought in Gundogan, Nolito. Is that how you say it? Gundogan? I would always say it.
Gundogan.
Gundogan? Either or.
Yeah, because it's Turkish. And
Gundogan.
Sure. You don't pronounce the G.
I don't care. I'm going to say in the most British, like touristy, I don't give a damn how you're meant to say your name manner.
I feel like I've learnt something there. Sané's been brought in, and now podcast listeners will know that Kino rated Leroy Sané very highly in the Euros, didn't he?
So does Pep, apparently. He's paid 40 million for him.
Pep Guardiola would not have predicted him as top
I'm
scorer.
taking Pep's side.
All right, fair enough. And Gabriel Jesus, who will join in the January. Though,
£19 million for Jesus.
I thought it was 27.
I don't know. It's a lot of money for a player who's unproven.
I'd like to apologise on behalf of these two for the awful pronunciations of names.
Jesus, I'm reading it as written, Kino. Right? I don't talk about at Christmas.
I don't
we
say
all gather around and celebrate
Christ,
the birth
do
of.
I?
Yeah, I don't say Jesus Christ either. Do you say Juliet? Do you say Jesus Navas? You did as well. Yeah, I remember actually. Did you know Di Michaelis has been released?
Yeah,
I didn't know that.
It's been linked with Arsenal.
I was just saying, that's excellent. Lovely stuff.
Johnny Evans, the 2, aren't they, at the moment?
It's fair to say that early on, Pep has put his stamp on this team. Already, we spoke about it before. John Stones as well, potentially making his way to the Etihad. It looks like some smart business by Guardiola already. But Kino, does it matter if Vincent Kompany's not fit? Because we've seen in recent years that has been a factor.
I think it does for this first season. I think in the long term, I think you'll actually see him begin to be phased out of the starting 11, I think, for Guardiola. But I think in this initial, maybe even first sort of 6 months, a player like that who is a titan in the dressing room, knows the club very well, it's important that he is in the playing squad each week and is there. and whatever length I mean, how is he injured currently? Is he out currently?
Probably.
Well, he missed the Euros, didn't he? So I don't know.
Well,
if he's
and so it depends.
Back now.
Yeah, obviously there's the Euros injury. So depending on how well he recovers from that, will be crucial in the early part of Guardiola's reign. As I say, I think the fact that they're trying to go for Stones is quite revealing. That I think he wants to sort of maybe build a longer term partnership, maybe with Mangala and Stones, maybe. But short term, it's vital he's there. For sure.
Obviously, City have put bids in for Stones. At time of recording, may well have bought him, we don't know. But are you surprised that I'll ask you first. Are you surprised that Guardiola wants John Stones?
A little bit, but at the same time I feel like it's a move that's overdue, and I imagine that he's gone in, and obviously City, I don't think they've changed too much the backroom staff. Obviously immediately they have, but a lot of the kind of existing players kind of and scouts and coaches are still there in the youth teams. I imagine it's a player where a few of them are fairly familiar with, particularly the English kind of coaches and such. And despite an iffy season last year, I think it's undeniable that John Stones has a hell of a lot of talent, and I feel like in a lot of ways he was thrown under the bus in some ways by playing for Everton last year, because they were a shambles everywhere. And I feel like realistically City do need a centre-back. They need a replacement for Stones. They need someone who can come in and step in. I mean, we talked about Di Michaelis leaving. He's a player who was in the first team fairly frequently for City last year, so there definitely is a need for some kind of backup centre-back. And yes, he would be that expensive kind of backup in a lot of ways initially, but he has real potential, I think, to grow into a big player, and he's not had that chance to play with a fairly, a superstar squad, so to say. He's played for an Everton side that, let's be honest, in recent years has been rather underwhelming, and the fact he's kind of stood out so much perhaps indicates a little bit of that. And so, no, I'm not surprised. I actually think he'd suit City quite well because they're going to need a centre-back, and I feel like they need a long-term solution there. It's a position they've thrown a lot of money at in recent years, and what is £50 million if John Stones goes on to play for Manchester City for the next 10 years and lifts countless trophies with them?
Yeah, it's funny because they've still got Mangala, they've got Company, they've got Otamendi. It's interesting where John Stones would fit into that, because and again, it's not a really. It is a big deal when you mention things like this. It's not a particularly British team for Stones to go into. He'll have Hart behind him, but then Sterling's pretty far away. Delph's not going to play every game. It would be a different environment for John Stones to get used to. You think about like the players he's been in and around recently. Like he's had Gareth Barry in front of him, he's had Jagielka next to him. It'd be a very different environment for a player like John Stones, and it'd be interesting to see if he'd thrive or if he'd, come a little bit unstuck. Who do we think the best signing is for them? Do we think they've made the right signings? Have they bought what they needed? Anyone want to come in, Keelan?
I am looking forward. Sorry,
Jack?
can I come in? I'm looking forward to Gabriel Jesus linking up with Kelechi Iheanacho and Aguero's not fair.
What, next year?
Well, no, 2017 February. It's going to be the year of the Nacho.
Okay, I believe.
I think for me, the Gundogan signing is the one that really excites me. I know it's their earliest one, and more so that I really want to see the potential and the skill that he has sort of manifest itself, as well as it should do, because he's had some awful injuries in the past few years, and he was an absolute dynamo in the Dortmund team that obviously under Klopp got to the Champions League final and won 2 titles. So I'm really excited to see him in the Premier League, and I think he actually could be a really important midfielder for City, because for the last few years they've kind of had the Fernando axis, and Delph sort of was brought in maybe as a replacement to that, and Torres on his way out, so there is a spot there for him, I think, every game, and it'll be really interesting to see if he can sort of make that his own.
I'm quite looking forward to Leroy Sané, because actually,
of course,
I'm thinking about it. City haven't actually had that many out and out flying wingers. They've kind of brought in players to try and do that, I guess. You look at the likes of Jesus Navas as perhaps an example of that, but none of them have really excelled at that role, and it's always been, it feels like, for me at least, more creative players thrust out wide for this City side. I look at kind of David Silva playing down the left a fair bit for them in recent years. And so actually having this out-and-out winger who they've splashed a hell of a lot of money on, I'm quite excited to see what he can do. But I think he will offer a slightly new dimension, perhaps, of him and Sterling. Playing
it's great to have him in the Premier League as well. It's great to have him in.
I think City, arguably, have gone a little bit top-heavy with who they've now got. I know sort of the owners want a Champions League at this point. They're a bit frustrated at not getting one. But they've got Sterling, Silva, Nasri's still there. Don't forget, I know Nasri's had lots of injuries, but he's still at the club. De Bruyne's there as well. Then you look at the window that they've just had here. They've brought in, as you mentioned, Sané. Jesus, is it, Keno? Sorry, you do it, because, I don't want to get it wrong.
Gabriel Jesus,
thank you. He's coming in as well. And then Nolito's come in for 14 million, who was a starter for Spain in the Euros.
The Nolito one's interesting for me because it,
confusing,
as you say,
confusing.
Yeah, as you say, that they are top heavy in that sort of the 3 behind the 1 striker, that inside forward role, and it would just suggest I think there'll still be movement in those areas for City, mostly outwards. I think Nasri hadn't trained City fans would probably know better, following the pre-season, but I'm not sure Nasri's trained, partly due to his weight. There were some issues over that.
But Navas is still there too, actually.
I think that Nasri and Navas will be 2 that I think will be on their way. Maybe, if not deadline day, around there, closer to maybe the January transfer window. Because I think he's also, both of those players, they could move overseas, but they also seem like players that maybe a slightly lower league Premier League team, maybe an Everton or a team like that might take a punt on, to give a bit of quality. So I could definitely see something like that happening with those types of players. Yeah. City are going to offload some more.
I feel like I could see them both go to Italy in some capacity, actually.
Possibly.
For whatever reason, I can't see Nasri wanting to go to like a Swansea or something. No, I could see him moving away. But again,
he hardly wants to be at City.
I feel like they've got a little bit of a conundrum, and the Yaya Toure question is going to be interesting as well. But with City, then, what do we think? What are their expectations? Title, obviously, but I mean, where do we think they'll finish? Jack's gone straight in at top there, did you?
No doubt. Yeah,
No doubt.
I think they've got to be favourites to the title this year. They've spent big. There's a big return wanted. Guardiola's gone in. I think they're not done in this transfer window. And I think just on paper alone, they have the best squad. I think they have one of the best managers as well in the Premier League. Perhaps there's a question of how well they can adapt. But really, you look at City's season last season, it was a season where they really should have been doing significantly better. And their squad hasn't got weaker at all by any means. It's only got stronger, really, in the majority of positions. And I can only see one way for them, and that's kind of up, I guess.
Kino?
Well, as I mentioned in an earlier pod, I think Chelsea will win the league. I think with City, and we've kind of mentioned it, that there are a few imbalances in their squad, and many of the ageing players that maybe were a bit complacent in the seasons past for them. Under Pellegrini and Mancini to a certain extent, a lot of those players are still there. Guardiola hasn't really had time to totally clear out the playing staff and mould the team in his image, and I think that will make a big difference. And I think it's just 1 year too early for them to really dominate the league. I expect them to at some point, but I think it's 1 year too early. So I'm going to say second with City. I think Chelsea will win it and City second. They'll be very exciting to watch though, and players like De Bruyne, obviously Sané, very bodes well for the future.
I think City will win the league as well, actually. I think they've just got... Actually, no, I was going to say I think they've got that a bit more. I think they've actually got quite a lot more than the other sides around them. The sign's very good. I think if you get Aguero scoring 25, 30 again, then it bodes extraordinarily well. Defensively, I think it's their only question mark. I think Hart is going to have a big start of the season. Obviously, has been ridiculed really for his poor performance with England. But he's good for City. We shouldn't just forget that. He's very good for City. So it's going to be interesting to see how he gets on with them again. There's obviously been a lot of talk about Guardiola replacing him. It's a big season for Joe Hart. If he doesn't perform well this year, then it might be where Guardiola thinks about changing it and getting someone else in. I mean, he still might. There's so much talk of it. It could still happen. I just think City have got the best, as Jack said, I think they've got the best team on paper. Admittedly, they don't play on paper, but it just looks like a very, very hungry, strong team. I think that's the big thing. There's lots of players in this team that want to win the Premier League and haven't quite got it yet, like Sterling, like De Bruyne. I think Aguero would probably quite like it again. And then the players that have come in, of course, that are fighting for it, like Gundogan. Him, that one there. I say Gundogan, apparently that's wrong. So there we are then. 2 firsts and a second. We think City will do rather well.
Very good season either way, yeah.
Yeah, I agree with that. Champions League, by the way, just quickly, where do we think?
Quarterfinals.
I actually think they may have a decent chance of winning it.
Wow. I'll go semis again. I think again.
Yeah, semis.
You
Yeah.
love semis. Right, should we move on to United?
You love finals, England. Remember that? Never letting you forget it. Let's go on to United then. Jose Mourinho. We said the circus had left Chelsea. It's arrived at Manchester United. Jose Mourinho is in at United. He's finally got the job he always wanted, Jose. And he's not gone there alone. He's brought in Zlatan Ibrahimovic, Eric Bailly, and Henrik Mkhitaryan. Not a bad three-piece to bring in, and him and Zlatan will be. There'll be lots of pictures of them, I imagine, this season, because they're those sort of people, aren't they? I guess we'll talk about it briefly. We kind of talked about it a lot last year because it was rumoured for like 5 or 6 months, wasn't it, that he was going to go in and take the job. I remember like 2 or 3 weeks after leaving Chelsea, there was talk that he might get it, and we mentioned it numerous times. I think we kind of all agreed at the time that we didn't think Mourinho was necessarily the right man for the Manchester United job. Has that changed at all? Do we feel slightly differently towards that now?
Well, Ancelotti's come out. Ancelotti.
Sorry, you're right, Jack.
So I'm having like an aneurysm there, I'm afraid, thinking that. It's a good question. Sorry. I mean, I sound a bit like Gary Neville, when he did that like weird shouting noise.
Unbelievable!
That one. What was the question again? There's so many.
Do you think Mourinho is the right fit? We were hesitant on saying that.
I think he's the right fit for now. I think in 3 years' time, United fans are going to be sick of him and calling for his head. But I mean, they're in for a roller coaster ride. We're in for a roller coaster ride with him. I think he's made some okay signings so far. I mean, Ibra's not bad, is he?
No. By the time this comes out, I've got strong sources that say that Pogba will be a Manchester United player.
If that happens, suddenly United are taken seriously, aren't they? That's the thing. I feel like he's made some very Mourinho signings, the kind of signings that if Van Gaal had stayed in, no chance of ever making.
Zlatan wouldn't have gone, let me tell you.
So I'm kind of excited to see what United can do this year, and I feel like I shouldn't say that, but I've said it. I think actually Mourinho as a concept, should we say it, Manchester United, has grown on me.
I think for a few years, Manchester United have been an interesting, they're an interesting team. You don't know what's going to happen, how they're going to play. I've got no idea how United are going to play this year. Absolutely no idea. They've had I guess I'd describe it as an indifferent pre-season. At times they've looked very good, at times they've looked poor. Now, take pre-season as you will. It's not really a judge, but I mean, Mourinho's got to get his stamp on this team quickly, Kino.
Yeah, I think, as Jack said, pretty much it's fine in the short term. We expressed our reservations, when it was announced. So I'm unsure as to whether he can kind of continue the sort of inspirational presence he had at Chelsea. I think joining Man United will humble him slightly. I don't think he'll be the same manager that we've seen at Chelsea or even at Real Madrid, which is a lot more sort of drama laden. So with that in mind, I think things will be a little bit calmer, but still not calm enough if you're a Man United fan. So with that in mind, I think they'll be in and around the top four. Maybe
there was already the starting drama,
win the league,
wasn't there, with Martial's number 9 being stripped of him and given.
Oh yeah, of course.
That's just a weird situation. That United have obviously thought, well, we're not going to tell him. I mean, we'll let Zlatan tell him. Zlatan, you tell him. And then the way Zlatan tells him is by tweeting a picture of his new number 9 shirt. I'm surprised Zlatan didn't at Martial, saying, "Recognise this number? Lol." With the cry emoji.
Probably DM'd him saying that, to be fair.
That would be bad, but I'd quite like that. I think I've said previously that I would quite like Zlatan to be the one to announce Pogba as well. Obviously, Zlatan announced himself rather than Manchester United announcing it.
Zlatan could just start announcing every signing.
I think for all Premier League clubs, maybe. I think the Champions League draw should start to be done by Zlatan's Twitter account. Why not? Get it involved. I will say on Zlatan, by the way, I'm delighted he's in the Premier League. I'm devastated it's Manchester United.
Yeah,
I have this weird feeling he's going to do crap.
Do you?
I have this sneaking suspicion he might not even break 5 goals this season, and I don't know why.
We can do a wager if you want, Jack. Do you want to do a wager on this?
Not really, because I don't believe it. I've just got this gut instinct that tells me.
Yeah, well, go with your gut instinct, mate. I think he'll hit 21.
I think he'll hit less than 21.
Okay, so you want the under on 21, and I get the over.
Yeah.
So what are you going to do if he scores more than 21?
I will get. What will I do?
You get a free tweet on my account.
Okay, and vice versa. Right, got a deal.
And I get a free tweet on your account.
We'll probably forget about this. Does someone write this down? Set a reminder in their phone.
Somebody will remember.
Somebody will definitely remember.
Right then, I hope so. With United, then they've a few interesting ins. Not as many outs as I thought we'd see from United. I thought we'd see more. So far, it's been quite overwhelming. Valdez has moved on. Nick Powell's gone. But I thought we'd maybe see Mata go, Ashley Young leave.
There's a name I haven't heard in a while.
A few other players. I don't know. I thought they would leave. I don't know. I thought there'd be more of a clear out than there has been. I don't know if Mourinho feels like the squad isn't really strong enough, but yeah. Pogba. How big a difference? We did a Mahrez with Leicester, with and without. So, Jack, over to you. With and without, where are United finishing? Because obviously we're recording early.
Controversially, third.
Okay, well,
is that boring? I think he'll make a difference for them, but I actually think United have a good chance of getting top 3 this year based on their signings and kind of the general appointment of Mourinho. I just feel like even with Pogba, I feel like Chelsea and City might just still be out of reach.
Yeah.
I agree with that. I think I'd love to see it happen. Maybe not for the fee. I think it's extortionate, but I'm not sure he will make sort of the huge title-winning difference to the team. So I think I'll stick with the position that I said, which was third.
I think second with, fourth without. But I think they're getting him. I believe now. I believe it's happening. Silly money. Too much money? We all agree it's too much money.
What is it? 30 million? 30 million. That would be like 10 years ago. Is it 120 million euros? Is that?
I think overall it's 120. It's like 110.
100 times that Juventus paid for him 4 years ago. 100 times.
I mean, as soon as Man United said 100 million, I'm surprised you didn't just go, yeah, let's do it. Let's do it now. Do it right now.
I feel like if you're going to pay £100 million, you need a player who's going to make a game-changing difference.
You want Messi, Neymar, Ronaldo, Suarez.
This might sound controversial. I don't know if you guys will agree. I feel like if you're paying £100 million for a player, you expect a game-changing kind of player, a player who can turn a game on its head. And I feel like as a centre midfielder, your impact on the game cannot swing a game one way or another.
So I don't agree with that. As a former central midfielder, I don't agree with that. I think as he is right now, I still think, despite how good Paul Pogba is, right, and I know he's won multiple titles in Italy, and I know he's done great things with the French national team, but I still think he's a little bit raw. I still think there's part of Paul Pogba's game that needs refining, and if that's refined over the next couple of years under Jose Mourinho, in a team like this, with sort of Zlatan as his sort of pin-up, I don't know if that's how I look at him, but he's quite a presence. That could be a scary thing for Manchester United. They will have he's already a great player, but they could have one hell of a player. As you mentioned, like a game-changing player. They could be buying that.
It's a good point that you mentioned Ibrahimovic, because I think his presence may sort of almost take a little bit of pressure.
It brings everybody down a peg when Zlatan's there. I'm going to admit I am a bit of a Zlatan fanboy, but the arrogance and the ego on a man like Zlatan is completely justified, and because it's justified, it makes everybody else, including club captain Wayne Rooney, I bet, feel a little bit inferior. And I think Pogba needs that grounding right now, because at the moment the whole saga with Pogba in Manchester United is a little bit sick-making. It's a little bit too showy. You've got the agent talking every fucking day. You've got Pogba himself doing vague Instagram posts about stuff. That won't be happening.
But did you not see he tweeted a picture in front of Orlando and his head was just covering the UK on the map, so it means he's going to the UK. So he must be going to United. I'm just on his Instagram being a detective. I look at his pictures, Universal Shoe, I'm on to you.
Right.
Sorry, that's just to be clear. Bit of a parody there, but that is literally what the internet is like whenever Pogba posts something at the moment.
I agree. There we are then, Manchester United. I think we all think sort of second to fourth. They'll be none of us still think they'll win the league though, even with Pogba. Interesting.
No. I think Mourinho's got a point to prove actually here. I think that's going to be an interesting thing.
In the same way, we can make a parallel. In the same way where I mentioned Chelsea, there's plenty of those Chelsea players that need to perform. Jose Mourinho himself has got as things stand right now, he failed. He's got to prove that he's back, and with Conte, Klopp, and Guardiola circling, it's going to be.
I'm looking forward to Chelsea v United.
So much narrative.
Hashtag narrative in the comments.
Right, last team. A pinnacle, I think, of this episode. Middlesbrough.
Well, promoted. And I'd love to see a team like Middlesbrough get promoted and not really care about who they sign. Karanka's already put in Alvaro Negredo on loan.
They've gone for the Watford approach.
I respect it, Jack.
I respect that Negredo's come in. They've gone, we're in the Premier League now. We have some money. Let's just sign a load of players who used to be good in Football Manager. Yeah,
so Valdez is in as well. I do think their team's quite solid. We've already talked about Hull not having a great time. Burnley, we're a bit kind of maybe not. I think Borough have got the best chance of staying up. I think they've got the best sort of ready-made team. They've brought in Barragan at right back, who's a good player. They've got Victor Fisher from Ajax, who's been highly sort of touted for many years. I think they're the best equipped team, I think, to stay up out of the three. Teams. Yeah, I think so.
I think I agree. I think the Watford comparison's quite a good one. And basing it on how Watford did this season, just gone. There could be a good shot to stay up. It all depends on. I agree. I think they're the best of the three promoted, and it depends on their survival. I think depends on which is the Premier League team, the current sort of the non-promoted side that has a mayor that sort of does a Newcastle or a Villa and fills the rest of the relegation spots. Because I think while a lot of the players that they've signed have massive pedigree and very impressive CVs, they may not have what it takes for a potential relegation fight, and whether that hinders them remains to be seen. We'll have to see.
Yeah, I think they've brought in some nice players. Jack, you're a fan of some of these boys, aren't you, that have been brought in? Valdez is a
fan favourite. I'm looking for the best storyline in this side is going to be the battle for the number one shirt between Guzan and Valdez. A clash of the titans, one for the ages. But
did you see the poll? I sent Keno a poll, actually. Obviously, being a Villa fan, Keno, I sent you a poll. There was a poll done on like a local Middlesbrough newspaper of the keepers, like the 4 keepers that are potentially going to be like the number one. It's Mias, I think, who's like a former Real Madrid player, 27. Konstantinopoulos, who's a 37-year-old Greek guy. I think he's played for them quite a lot, actually. Victor Valdez at Braguzan, and Braguzan had like less than 2% of the vote to be the number one.
That doesn't surprise me. Someone needs to tell Middlesbrough they're not allowed to play with 2 goalies this year.
They've got a lot of keepers, haven't they?
Yeah.
I look at their team, actually. There's a few players here who I'm interested to see how they fare. I think, actually, the biggest one is Gaston Ramirez, because he originally came to Southampton with a big kind of fanfare behind him. He then went to Hull on loan. Then he went somewhere else on loan last year, and I now can't recall where it was, but he just didn't have an impact there.
He went to Hull for a short time, didn't he, Ramirez?
Yeah, it was like I feel like it was like a few months.
He went to I know who you mean as well. This is awful. No, it was Hull, but he was on Middlesbrough. He was at loan on to Middlesbrough.
Okay,
yes,
so
he was.
Oh, yeah, that's right, because he got that bad tackle on him, didn't he, in the playoffs?
So then his contract ran out. Yeah. So what happened was Southampton signed him. Contract ran out at Southampton after his last year loan spell at Middlesbrough, and now Middlesbrough have signed him on a free. That's what's happened.
Right, there you go. Case closed. But I'm actually quite interested to see how he gets on, because clearly he impressed enough during the season at Borough. He's a player who he's had well documented, I guess, kind of personality issues on and off the pitch in terms of he's been, known as quite a lazy player struggled to fit in. Clearly, last year he kind of redeemed himself somewhat during his time at Borough. There's players like Fisher as well coming in from Ajax, a player who actually I've seen a few Dutch fans react to this. They're actually surprised that he's gone to the Premier League, because he isn't as young as he once was. He hasn't actually played that much first team football.
Jack, mate, none of us are. Carry on.
But
Time, Jack. Time takes all of us.
None of us are as young as we used to be.
It's true, but no. Sorry, my point literally was is that he is a player who is he's always been this golden boy for a long time in Holland, and he had this kind of reputation as being a player who was kind of destined to make this move to the Premier League, and through injuries, through just poor performances and a lack of development, he's just not had that. And now he's got this one chance, and I don't think he would have got a chance with anyone else, to be honest, other than a newly promoted squad, to try and prove himself.
I think it's a bit risk-free. It's like if it doesn't work at Borough, just go back to Holland. Maybe you can go back to Ajax. It's that kind of transfer for me. I think clever by Borough to go.
I just think for him it's a career make or break move, and I think there's going to be a lot of players, as I mentioned, who are going to be interested to see how he gets on here.
I think they're going for like 4 million. It could be a fantastic signing. It really could. It could be like one of the best signings of the whole window, if it comes off and he plays well.
Low risk, high reward.
Absolutely. We've seen teams do it before, and we don't, especially in like the inflated prices we're seeing now. We've not seen that many transfers like this, and he's obviously got the ability. He's been highly rated, as you say, for a long time. Hasn't quite worked, but if this is like some players shine on a bigger stage, and he might be one of those players. So we'll see. I don't know how Borough start the season. I wonder if their start's easy. Because I think for a team like we're talking about momentum with Burnley before, I think the start of the season is important.
Their opening game is, drumroll please, they have Stoke, Sunderland, West Brom, Palace, Everton.
That's quite a nice start, isn't it? That's what I mean.
Yeah.
I think they could be top of the table after 4 games. We'll see. You never know. Where do we think they'll finish then, Jack?
16th.
It's another one of those pain noises.
Sorry, it is.
You don't want to say
that's actually the sound my brain makes as it kind of processes things. When I think, that is the sound that's made. Ben, what about you? What are you thinking?
Oh, thank you for asking. I think Borough will finish 12th. I think they'll have a really good season. I've got
any standout performers, or?
I think Fisher could be the guy. I don't think Negredo will be as fruitful. Look out for Adam Clayton. I think it's Adam. Is it Adam Clayton? Pretty sure it's Adam Clayton. Check out Adam Clayton. They've also signed a player called Martin Darun, who could be this like year's Kante. He's not a similar player, but I mean like the player no one's heard of, but comes and does a really good job.
And moves to Chelsea for 30 million, right?
Yeah, look out for him. I think he's from Atalanta.
Kino, what about you? Whereabouts do you see him?
Middlesbrough, I think. As we've mentioned earlier, I think they're the best equipped of the 3 to stay up. I think they will do. with no dramas. Kind of a Watford-like performance, I think, from Middlesbrough. That's what I'd expect. So, lower mid-table, 15th, 16th.
Yeah, fair enough. That brings us to the end then. A couple of title contenders in there, and Manchester United and Middlesbrough. So we've had a good chat. Thank you for listening. If you've enjoyed it, do drop a like on the video. Follow us on Twitter, YouTube, all the things that you can find us on iTunes as well. And maybe SoundCloud. Actually, well, no, not SoundCloud. The proper shows are going on SoundCloud. Correct, Kino?
Yes, correct.
Correct. Right then, that does bring us to the end. Jack, thank you for joining me.
Thank you for having me.
Pleasure. And Kino, welcome and goodbye.
Goodbye.
I stumped him.
That confused me.
Yeah,
I thought we were doing another show.
If you want to get involved in the fantasy football, you can do. I've got rid of the webpage. I had the code open, boys. Do you remember it?
For the fantasy, link below.
Link below. That was better. Find us. So from me, Ben, from us at For The Fans, we'll see you again. Another preview show coming soon. With love, with care. If you'd like to mention, Kino, you're going on a cruise, so we won't see you next time, will we?
Yeah, that's me done for a week.
Have a nice holiday.
Thank you, boys.
Right, bye, everyone. Bye. Do you want to wave, or Jack?
I already am. I'm already waving.
Excellent. Like
Still don't like your Coleman. Still don't like Coleman.
Excellent. Right, we love with care from us at For The Fans. Goodbye.
It's a sculpture of a gold Benji. It's perfection.
Kino, I think you're going to have to be calling for an oxygen mask over here, my friend.